We have a real interesting program this morning. We have Micah Jonet, who is a business advisor with CIE, which stands for the Center for Inclusive Entrepreneurship. He is the Resilience Business Advisor for CIE on the Olympic Peninsula. With a lifetime spent in rural America and broad accounting experience, Micah supports our community's smallest businesses, helping them to grow, pay their owners, and serve our neighbors. Micah joined CIE to contribute operational and financial experience from a wide variety of industries, which has exposed him to many of the problems facing rural entrepreneurship and the many different solutions people have used to grow through the challenges. Micah earned a Bachelor's of Business Administration in Accounting from the University of Wisconsin and has certificates in Advanced Business Communications and International Business. We're lucky to have him in our community. And so please give a warm welcome to Micah.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I've been looking for an excuse to eat at this restaurant, so thanks for inviting me. And thanks for spending your morning with me. Before I start talking, I want you all to close your eyes for a little bit and remember the first time you liked going to a store. And when you've got it, I want you to turn to whoever's closest and tell them about it.
When we learned it by
Yeah.
when I went to
The first time you were happy to first go to a store, go to a business. Your first memory of that.
Yeah, that was I'm very well. They're both idiots. On the verge of tears. Yeah, very much.
Really working this
Like, I don't think I've ever been happy. I hate stores. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. So you guys,
Thanks.
a lot of memories. How many of them were locally owned? Raise your hands if the place you were thinking of was owned by somebody in your community. See, that's why we do what we do. Center for Inclusive Entrepreneurship, we really do focus on the smallest businesses because it helps the most people and it builds a community that people like being in, that people remember fondly decades after they first went into that store. Can you flip the slide? Yeah, so here we are. Well, that's me. That's how you spell entrepreneurship. And our goal really is a thriving economy, especially local. We're really pushing for locally owned small businesses and the regional character that it brings with it. And the beautiful thing about having locally owned businesses is you have an economic benefit beyond just the money that they make. If you go and buy your shoes at the locally owned shoe shop and then they send their kid to softball, that money just moves throughout the community up to 7 times more than it does if you buy your shoes at Walmart. And I mean, all the horrible bosses that you never see in real life. It's all of those benefits of local ownership are really hard to measure, but they're very easy to feel when you go into a place. And along with that, we saw the concerns as the Hood Canal Bridge was almost closed over a weekend. Having a strong batch of local businesses and being able to meet our needs locally contributes to a pretty resilient peninsula. I lived in Forks when the pandemic hit, and I saw how little food there was out there for those first few couple weeks. It was amazing how much more was just Port Angeles because of the farmers. So that's really our goal, is to push and strengthen the peninsula by using small businesses. But there's a lot of things that are in the way of starting small business. I know Laurel and I were talking, and one of the things that she brought up is she was doing it on her own. There really wasn't anybody to help. And that's a big one, especially with a lot of the people we work with. They're the first business owners in their family. They might be the first business owners in their community. So there's a lot of knowledge that hasn't been gained by friends and family that they can rely on. And there's a lack of opportunity for a lot of them too. A lot of the people we work with are really making it by at this point. They're scraping, they're working a couple of jobs, they're babysitting their neighbors' kids under the table so they can get their kid a birthday present the next week. And they look at entrepreneurship and they look at business ownership and they think of Airbnb, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, and they're like, I could never do that. That's not something I have. That's not something I'll ever do. And it's hard for them to get money. Even if they get an idea and they're like, you know, I could start a coffee shop, $500. I could save that for 15 paychecks and hope none of my kids get sick. Or they just don't start. So there's a lot of things in between our clients and starting businesses. And we acknowledge that, we know that there are a lot of things and it is really hard, and it's gotten harder as more regulations come up, as prices of things increase across the board. Getting a business started seems harder and harder. We have 4 main real approaches that we do. We do a monthly class called Start Simple, where we get people in. It's free. Everything we do is free. Let's get that out there now. And we bring them in and we talk to them for 4 Wednesdays about what they want to do, who they think will be buying it. Then we get them thinking about the money. And by the end of the 4 weeks, they get to kind of look at it and be like, oh, how many cupcakes do I have to sell a month to be able to pay my rent? Is that something I can do? If they decide, you know, that is what I can do, perfect. We meet with them one-on-one, once again for free, going over the steps of how to get through business licensing with the state, and as a second person to talk to as they're figuring out who they want to, what they want to do for marketing. Oh, do I want to move into this place? Do I want to move into this place? Do I want to get a storefront, or do I want to play online? All of those questions, we're here to be just a second set of ears. We've also started doing this year some more focused business accelerators. We just wrapped one up for women entrepreneurs. And we had, I believe, 9 people go through the course and prove that their business model and their business idea can work. That they got the customers, they've got that the money makes sense. And so you'll see 9 new businesses hopefully cropping up here within the year. We also, with funding from First Fed, we were able to give them those $1,000 a piece to really help them get going, get some of those first few things they need. And along with that, since we're a nonprofit, we're paid to go to things like this, was really helpful because we can connect our clients with other people in the community who need them, have knowledge that they can use, or have experience that they're willing to share. And so Inclusive is our middle name, and that's really what we're trying to be and who we're trying to help. And we help the folks who have been kept from business, that have been kept from the resources to start a business for so long. And as you see, it's not up on that one. We count rural in there as well, because we're hours away from Seattle. CIE is sort of the only people out here there to talk to. And all of the resources that do help people get started are based in Seattle, the grants of King County, sometimes Pierce. So many of the things that help people get going aren't here. We also work with a lot of folks who have criminal records. It's hard for them to get jobs a lot of places. They've got a few years gap on a resume. They now aren't asked about it anymore, but for a long time, it's been really hard for them to get a job. And one of the only ways that they can provide for themselves and keep themselves from going back to prison is by starting a business that's legitimate. We also will work with disabled folks. Are once again hard for them to hold down a job. So we really try to help those who have struggled and that feel like there aren't many folks there to help. Next slide. And to help us with that, we have partners with a lot of groups in the area. The WorkSource, we are the seat provider for WorkSource. If somebody's on unemployment and is struggling to find a job, they're able to take our class and go through the process of starting their own business instead of doing the work search. So they're continuing to get unemployment, and the unemployment office keeps them alive as they struggle through this first few months of business ownership. And they're stable, they're self-sufficient, and they're not on unemployment any longer, and they ended up not having to find a job for somebody else, able to work for themselves. We do a similar process with all the tribes in the area through Lower Elwha Clallam's tribal vocational rehab as well. And then we also we partner with the SBDC. People work with us and get good and get established, and it's reached to a point where we can no longer help them. I take them down the hallway and introduce them to Sharon Ann, the local SBDC advisor, and she can help them really from that point forward. And all the other folks, we work with them in different ways. They refer to people to us as they see needs. Next slide. And a little bit more of a kind of how we're doing this. We really focus on smallest businesses. If somebody has 5 employees, they're probably too for us. We're really focused on really easy wins. Somebody comes to us and they're like, hey, I'm a woodworker. I want to start a business. I want to start a cabinet making business. I'm like, okay, that's a lot of equipment. That's a lot of time. What can you sell this month? What can you do? What's the easiest way to take a risk where if it doesn't work out, you learn from it instead of getting bankrupt. We also really have and along with that, we have to try something, talk to the customer about it, adjust based on that, and then keep going. We really don't encourage taking out debt. So many of our people that can kind of sink. So it's this step-by-step, working your way through it, funding the business with the revenue that you make through sales. We want them to get their business, but more importantly, we want them to sort of empower themselves and get independence and stability in their lives. And as one of the big things we do, we help them focus on their business because we're there to help them figure out what this form from the Department of Revenue means, or where do I go to figure out how to take credit cards at a farmer's market. All of those questions that a business owner has to figure out once. We're there to help so they can focus on the real core of their business. And a nice part of that is as we help more people, it makes it easier to help people in the future. Because once we help 2 people through the problem, once the 3rd person comes, you don't have to look at it anymore. No, oh, this is what's worked, this is what hasn't. Here are some of the options that have been proven locally. What do you think? Slide. And so far, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what we've done. So far this year, Between Clallam and Jefferson, we've helped 13 businesses get started. They've got their business license, got registered with the Department of Revenue, and they're out making sales and paying taxes. And I don't know if any of them are paying themselves yet, but they're on their way. My coworker, Rick, and I, who's not here today, since CIE started in late 2019, we have collectively brought over $2 million of investments into Clallam and Jefferson County. Most of that was pandemic relief, but a good chunk of it, about like 700, 800, has been local money, either from the owner investing into their own company or utilizing local dollars and cents. Squib, Lion, and Port Townsend, and we're working on coin here in Clallam, which is how local folks with money are able to invest into the small businesses instead of sticking their money on the stock market. We've also had over 400 people go through our program, either through our class or just jumping straight to one-on-one advising with us. Next slide. Thank you. That's it. Any questions?
Yeah, so what's how do you make money? How do you get the money to?
That's a great question. Yeah. So we get it from all over the place. We partner with the SBDC. So we get some of their money. We're a subcontractor with them, so we get some money from them. We get a little bit of money from Clallam County. We get a little money from the Port of Port Angeles, the Port of Port Townsend. Institutions that rely on small business will often give us a little bit of money so we can continue doing it. We have applied for grants, federal grants, and state, local, and institution grants as well. So we're purely grant funded. We got $100 of individual donations last year, something like that. So the vast majority of it is government and business money, just to more businesses coming up on the other side. Yeah. And we do, and to prove what we're doing, we have a confidential data aggregator effect. So we're able to show verifiable proof that, like, oh, this much money has come in, we've helped this many people start. And I believe we were at, you've only done the math for the first year, but I believe every 10,000 grants we've received, we've had a business start. At least as of last year, we haven't done this. But the other question, yeah.
Could you give us an example of a success story that you guys are proud of? You don't have to name names, but I'd like to hear about them.
Yeah, can't name names, but we do have some nameable names on our website. We have to get a media release from them, and then they have to approve it. So you can go and read some additional success stories. But one that I'm really happy about, I had a client out in Forest that she'd been in business for 4 years and had never really made money. And she called me up on December 23rd last year. I was like, Micah, I made enough that I can get my kids presents from the business. And it was the first year she'd been able to pay herself, and she just pushed it all right underneath the tree. So it was a lot of fun to hear. And now this year she's brought on 2 employees and 2 small businesses start that she can contract with. So it's been pretty fun to see that happen. All right, you had a question as well, right?
Me?
No. Did you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Laurel took my question, and it was, what are the types of businesses that you have been encouraging? And the other thing, segue, have you worked with other small communities as to what they are doing with business in their local communities as well?
Yeah, for the business question, most of the ones we work with end up being individuals with pretty technical skills. We've got for people where it's the skill and their time that they're selling seems to be our big thing. hairdressers, massage therapists, stuff like that, where they're like, I have a thing that currently I'm selling to my boss, and now I want to make it on my own. We've helped, it's been the whole range, but it really has been a lot more of those single person, skill-based, selling their time and just trying to figure out how to make it work. And then for the other communities, we are part of it's called the Small Business Resilience Network. It's another acronym. I think that's what it stands for. And it's put on by the Washington Department of Commerce. So once a month, we meet with, I believe it's 30 other organizations throughout the state who are trying to support small business in their community. Last week, I ended up talking with the man who runs the Cambodian Neighborhood Association or something like that in Seattle, because they were figuring something out and he just needed a little bit of help. So there is a lot of other people doing it. We are one of the larger organizations, but we're able to talk with the FBEC for difficult, harder questions than we typically get. So we've got folks underneath us kind of looking up, and we've got the whole SBEC. Yeah, go ahead.
What's the nature of the follow-up after a business has gotten started? They're running, what kind of support network and support from your firm is available?
Yeah, that's a great question. We don't have a formalized schedule. I've been pushing people to at least meet with me quarterly. But the way it's really kind of dependent on them and their need. When they first go through our class, sometimes I'll be meeting with people every week. Meet with them Tuesday at 7 p.m. or not 6 p.m. I don't do that. Tuesday at 4 p.m. every single week until they're at a place, and then they're like, you can go every other. And then I'll see you once a month, and then sometimes they'll call me up 7 months later out of the blue. So it really is dependent on the business and what they need. Because some people will go through our class and realize that they won't be able to start the business for 8 months because they got to save money or something's going on in their life, and they'll disappear for close to a year and then call us up out of the blue. Be like, hey, now I'm ready to. So it's really dependent on their need. We try to talk to them quarterly just to remind them of taxes and stuff like that. But they're all over the peninsula, so sometimes they're usually busy. And my hope is when they don't answer me, it's because they're busy running a business. Go ahead.
Is there one demographic that is more than any other at this point, or is it driven by the economy?
At this point, we don't specifically cater to one more than the other. We're still trying to get into all the communities on the peninsula. The vast majority of our clients are women at this point. I believe it's 60-some% of people going through our classes and meeting with us one-on-one are women. And a lot of them have, a lot of it spiked during the pandemic, and was a lot of others with kids. And I can't go back, daycare got too expensive, my child care closed, or it just doesn't make sense for me to do the job I was doing before. So currently it's mostly women. We are doing a push into the tribal communities as well, just because it is so much need, and they're the only town really out there in a lot of the cases, but we don't have any other questions.
So you've got your thumb on the pulse for the most part. Do you see any small businesses that are not there that there is a need for? That somebody, is looking for maybe starting up a business, and you see an unmet need?
A little bit. It's hard to know because the people I talk with they're such a small business that their need isn't enough to fully supply them business. Bookkeepers are a huge one. Any of those like professional skills everybody's looking for them. The EDC is doing the program that's gonna put like 20 bookkeepers into the community. So that's, we're all looking forward to that. But a lot of those, the biggest need that I'll hear about are those businesses that would be a department in a bigger company, where they need marketing, they need somebody to help them with sales, they'll need somebody to help them with bookkeeping. Just those, like, I've got a little too much on my plate and I need to offload some, but I can't afford to hire somebody.
Good to know.
Any other questions? Perfect. Yeah, thanks for letting me talk. We do have a few ways that you could help. We've got, if you run a business, if you're interested in helping people who are trying to start them, we're working on a mentorship program right now where people going through our courses, doing one-on-one advising, we'd love to be able to partner them up with somebody from the community who can sort of advise them through some things, or meet them for coffee, tell them about what they struggled with when they started a business, just sort of get that community going. If you know anybody who is thinking about starting a business or isn't and really should, send them our way. I've got cards and flyers here. And this summer we'll be doing a focused accelerator for folks who make things out of material, who craftsmen, artisans, take material, you turn it into something useful. And ideally, we'll be getting 10 new small manufacturing things picked up out of it. So if you know anybody who you've been urging to take that skill and make some money with it, let them know. Or if you made your money making stuff and selling it to folks, let me know, because we'd love to have some experience in the room talking. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. Yeah.